Welcome back. I'm here with you today because there's something critically important we need to discuss. Something that's affecting thousands of green card holders right now. And honestly, most of them don't even realize the changes that have already taken effect. If you're watching this video, chances are you or someone you care about holds a green card, a lawful permanent resident status that represents years of hard work, patience, and significant financial investment. Maybe you've been traveling internationally for work. Maybe you've been caring for elderly parents overseas. Maybe you've been managing family matters abroad, or pursuing educational opportunities in your home country. Whatever your situation is, what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could fundamentally change how you approach international travel, how you plan your trips outside the United States, and in some very real scenarios, it could even affect your ability to return to the country you've built your life in without facing unexpected questioning, delays, or the devastating possibility of having your re-entry stopped at the border. We're now well into the year 2026, and with this year has come a wave of regulatory updates from the Department of Homeland Security that most green card holders still haven't fully grasped. These aren't theoretical policy discussions happening in government offices somewhere. These are active, enforceable regulations that are being implemented right now at airports, border checkpoints, and ports of entry across the United States. And the people who are being caught off guard are everyday travelers, honest people who simply didn't know that the rules had shifted beneath their feet. Before we go any deeper into this conversation, I want to ask you for something. If you value clear, straightforward, fact-based reporting on immigration policy, green card regulations, international travel requirements, and the Department of Homeland Security developments that directly impact your daily life, I need you to hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Drop a comment down below and let me know whether you currently hold a green card and if any of these recent changes have already created challenges for you. And here's the thing. If you have family members, friends, colleagues, anyone in your network who might benefit from understanding these updates, please share this video with them today. The mainstream media isn't covering this information in the detail it deserves, and the people who need it most are often the last ones to find out. Now, let me be very clear about something from the start. The regulatory changes that the Department of Homeland Security has introduced throughout 2026 were not designed with the intention of punishing lawful permanent residents. They weren't created to make your life harder or to target immigrants unfairly. What these changes are actually designed to do is strengthen the integrity of the green card system, ensure that permanent residents are genuinely maintaining their residence in the United States, and close the gaps that the government believes are creating vulnerabilities in the immigration system. The challenge, and this is where ordinary people get hurt, is that when systems become tighter, when enforcement becomes more rigorous, people who are genuinely trying to follow the rules, people who have no intention whatsoever of doing anything wrong, can still find themselves caught up in bureaucratic tangles simply because they weren't aware of what was now expected of them. Think about it this way. A trip overseas that extends longer than you originally planned. A pattern of international travel that appears suspicious when reviewed by border officers. A failure to file required tax returns while you were abroad. A job assignment overseas that you didn't realize could jeopardize your permanent resident status. These might seem like reasonable decisions or minor oversights, but in 2026, these situations are creating significant consequences. Green card holders are experiencing delays at immigration checkpoints. They're facing intensive questioning by customs and border protection officers. In some cases, they're being issued notices to appear for immigration proceedings or having their green cards confiscated at the port of entry, all because they didn't understand the specific requirements that the Department of Homeland Security is now enforcing with unprecedented strictness. What I'm going to walk you through today isn't meant to scare you. It's not about creating fear or anxiety. What this is about is creating clarity. These rule changes are impacting thousands of people who maintain ties to their home countries, who support family members overseas, who travel internationally for legitimate business or personal reasons. And if you're one of those people, you absolutely deserve to know exactly what's expected of you, when these requirements apply, and what practical steps you can take right now to avoid running into problems at the border. So take a deep breath. Stay with me through this conversation, and let's move through this step by step together, with calm, with clarity, and with the facts you need to protect yourself. Before we dive into the specifics of the new enforcement policies or the updated scrutiny procedures that are now in effect, we need to establish a solid foundation. What does holding a green card actually mean in practical, real-world terms? When you receive lawful permanent resident status in the United States, you're granted the right to live and work in this country indefinitely. You have legal authorization to remain here, to build your career here, to raise your family here. But that status comes with responsibilities and expectations that many green card holders don't fully appreciate until it's too late. The most fundamental expectation is that you are maintaining your permanent residence in the United States. The word permanent is not accidental or meaningless. It reflects an expectation that the United States is your primary home, your main place of residence, the country where you intend to live for the foreseeable future. The Department of Homeland Security understands that people need to travel internationally for countless legitimate reasons. Family emergencies happen. Business opportunities arise. Educational programs require temporary stays abroad. Medical treatments may be necessary in your home country. The government is not saying you can never leave the United States or that every international trip puts your green card at risk. What the government is saying, and what they're now enforcing much more aggressively than in previous years, is that if your pattern of international travel suggests that you're not actually living in the United States, if your absences from this country are so frequent or so prolonged that it appears you've abandoned your permanent residence here, then your green card status can be questioned, challenged, and ultimately revoked. For many years, the unofficial guideline that immigration attorneys and green card holders relied on was that absences from the United States of less than 6 months were generally safe. Trips longer than 6 months started raising questions. Trips longer than 1 year almost always required a re-entry permit to avoid automatic presumption of abandonment. But here's what's changed dramatically in 2026. The Department of Homeland Security is no longer only looking at the length of a single trip. They're examining your overall travel pattern. They're analyzing how much time you're spending in the United States versus how much time you're spending abroad over the course of months and years. They're reviewing where you're filing your taxes, where your family members are living, where your employment is based, where your assets are located. They're building a complete profile to determine whether you are genuinely maintaining permanent residence in the United States, or whether you're simply using your green card as a convenience to occasionally visit this country, while actually living somewhere else. Customs and Border Protection officers at ports of entry now have access to sophisticated databases that track your entry and exit records with precision. They can see every time you've entered the United States. They can see every time you've departed. They can calculate exactly how many days you've been physically present in this country versus how many days you've been abroad. And when those numbers start raising red flags, when it appears that you're spending more time outside the United States than inside it, officers are being instructed to conduct secondary inspections, to ask detailed questions about your circumstances, and in some cases, to issue formal notices challenging your permanent resident status. What does that actually mean for you at the border? It means you could be pulled aside for additional questioning that lasts hours. It means you could be asked to provide documentation proving that you still maintain a residence in the United States, bank statements showing ongoing financial activity here, tax returns filed with U.S. authorities, lease agreements or mortgage documents, employment records, utility bills, any evidence that demonstrates you haven't abandoned your life in this country. And if you cannot provide satisfactory evidence, if the officer determines that you appear to have abandoned your permanent residence, your green card can be confiscated on the spot. You could be placed in removal proceedings. You could be denied re-entry into the United States entirely, even after years of holding lawful permanent resident status. The most important thing you can do right now is be proactive and honest about your situation. If you know that you've been spending extended periods outside the United States, if you recognize that your travel pattern might raise questions, don't wait until you're standing at the airport trying to re-enter the country to deal with this. Consult with a qualified immigration attorney immediately. Understand whether you need to file for a re-entry permit before your next trip. Evaluate whether your circumstances genuinely support maintaining permanent resident status, or whether you might need to consider other visa options that better align with your actual lifestyle. Keep meticulous records of everything that demonstrates your ongoing ties to the United States. And when you do travel, be prepared to answer questions clearly, calmly, and truthfully. If today's update helped you understand the seriousness of what's happening at U.S. borders right now, I'm genuinely glad. And if you found real value in this information, I want to ask you to do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. Subscribe for more serious, fact-based, in-depth analysis on immigration policy, green card regulations, Department of Homeland Security enforcement actions, and the systems that shape our ability to live and work in the United States. Leave a comment down below and share your own experience, your questions, or your concerns. Your story might help someone else watching this video realize that they're not alone in what they're going through. And if you know someone, whether it's family, friends, or colleagues, who holds a green card and might genuinely benefit from understanding these enforcement changes, please share this video with them today. Thank you so much for trusting me with your time and attention. The reality is this: the rules have changed in significant ways, and not everyone knows it yet. But you do now, and that knowledge gives you power, protection, and the ability to move forward with confidence. Stay informed, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next update.